This episode of Reactions Line is once again brought to you by themusicnerd.com. Don't forget you can check out Patreon and support Reactions Line directly over there. We'll be starting in about 6 minutes' time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Reactions Line. Tonight, a very bizarre show for me. No preparation whatsoever. I mean, the only thing is I have a piece of paper with literally things scrawled in the last 35 seconds before going live. We have lots of things to talk about tonight. The general topic is around city versus suburbs versus country versus outback. I want to talk about a whole heap of things surrounding this tonight: the cost of living, what you have facilities-wise, what opportunities you have, your lifestyle, family, raising a family, having family there, what keeps you there, what brings you there. There's a whole heap of stuff that I'm sure you, the viewers, hopefully can participate in tonight and add to the conversation. We are doing things a little bit differently tonight, and you would have seen from the pre-show banter / options to that whole thing, a little piece on some technology we're going to try out tonight as well. If I look over this direction, I can see a screen, and that screen hopefully will have your wonderful faces on it tonight. All you have to do is make sure you do have some decent lighting. Nothing crazy like this. Trust me, you don't need this much light to be a guest on this show. Just a decent quality webcam. Even, most PCs these days have good enough webcams provided you've got a little bit of light. Make sure you're lit from the front. Get some headphones on. Click the link and join in the conversation tonight. You will be shown up in a little window over there. I guess we are going to do this as a bit of a poll show tonight. So, thumbs up or whatever for city, suburb, country versus outback. Leave your comments in there. But I would absolutely love to see and hear from you tonight. The number, as per the usual, if I can actually get on my things, ducks in a row as it would happen to be. Let me just straighten up some of these things because this is the longest title I've ever used in a Reactions Line show so far. That number to call, it's over this way this time, 0280021759. That's 0280021759. You can also click on that link that's in all of the what do you call it? So in the Facebook chats, I'll just post it in the YouTubes and the Twitches because we are all over the platforms. Would love to have you join me tonight and actually be a visual viewer as well. Lots of things around that tonight. There are so many things. Obviously, we didn't choose a topic until very late in the piece for this particular show, and hopefully it will work out. Look, I hope you've had a wonderful Easter break. I'm sure we have had a wonderful Easter break. I'm sure we've had a wonderful Easter break. We have had a wonderful Easter break. It has been very busy and it's been a very interesting day, hence the slight muddled. So hopefully we can get through this tonight and have a bit of fun while doing it. Tonight's topic, again, is city versus country versus suburbs versus outback in any one of those orders. You can either call in now to have a chat. Again, it's interesting. I've personally come from, I guess you would call it the country, not rural, but the country, up in Lismore, and have lived in the city right in Piermont, and now live in the suburbs in Layla Park. So there's a lot of things to be said for that. I've got some people jumping on the comments already. We've got Rob Hardy making some comments, something about subtitles. Darcy's put in a vote for country. And that's about it so far tonight. But at least, we've got some stuff happening there. I'd love to see you join in on that link, particularly with the Hangouts. We have tested it. It does work. It's just one of those nights. You can also call in to have part of this discussion. Start the discussion on 02-8002-1759. I'd love to hear about your experiences, where you grew up, where you now live, and all of those pieces tonight. You can check out that on that link, which is also on all the pages. Haha, we've got 2 people voting for... You know what? We're going to do things a little bit different tonight. I'm actually going to take polls from the chat as well. Let me just change a couple of things because I didn't plan on doing this. We're up to... Hopefully the quality is absolutely stellar. We've been working really hard to get this doing exactly what we have doing. Okay. I can speak with words tonight. I'm not really great with grammar tonight, but I'm going to start the show by clicking on a couple of more things just to make sure we are all going. You can't vote for one. I mean, well, you know what? Bugger it. Vote for whatever you want to vote, and I'll try my absolute hardest to get it in there. Where is my timer? There is my timer. Say 45. No. Say half an hour. So we're going to do all these votes over half an hour. Timer should be starting right now. Now it's flipped. So when I look this way, it's going to be... there's some things I'm playing with. You'll see as we go through. So let me look at what we have here in this already. What do we got? We have got Darcy Cook, 1 for country. Double click. Add 1. We have... yes! Pasco voting also for country. That is 2. This is a nonsensical stream, let's be honest. All of the above, says Cameron Jenkins. Oh, this is going to be fun. 1. I should probably put it in order. 1. Country now 3. Which way do I have it? City, suburb, country, outback. There we go. So when I change them in order, it will be a lot easier now. Oh, we've got L coming in with city and the burbs. Hang on. +1 there. And where's the burbs? There. +1 there. So far, country in the lead with 3. City and suburbs on 2. Outback trailing behind on 1. Oh, Robert Hardy. Geez, this is absolutely flying through. City and country. You can join by clicking that link and joining via Google Chrome is probably the best way. Country 4. Bam. Trust me, it's a little more interesting than me talking to myself. So, that's the current tally. That's the current tally as it stands right now. City 3, suburbs 2, country 4, outback 1. Look, some of the things I'd love to discuss, which you can call on that number. I'm used to pointing the wrong way. 02-8002-1759. Obviously, there's debate between how you make your finances work in the city. It's obviously the cost of living is a lot higher, but finances and your income is typically higher. If we look through the facilities, typically you'll have a few more facilities in the city, in the burbs, and the country versus the outback. Opportunities of work obviously depends on what you're into. For me, the city has opened up so many more opportunities than being in the country, and the suburbs around the city has basically made that a positive thing. The lifestyle, it's very busy in the city and the burbs. Obviously, gets less busy as you move out, but it's a different kind of busy. You get busy, particularly in the outback. If you're a farmhand, it's particularly difficult to just get and live off the land and make it all happen. It's quite tough, particularly if you're doing the ranch hand stuff and you're doing all the cattle raising, and it's my grandmother came from that side of things. So the more you know. I need a soundboard for this kind of show. And obviously talking about raising a family in the city, burbs, country, and outback. Let's see, there's so many things happening on my screen all at once. Pre-show banter, we've talked about, that's all happened. I'd love you, come on people. I can see that there are people watching this show. I'm keeping it to a very strict time limit tonight because I'm absolutely tired. It happens. And there's no preparation in the show, as mentioned just before. I'd love you to call in on that number. I think it's working. Yep. 02-8002-1759. 1759. Who have we got there? Nope. No one? Have I pushed the wrong button? I shouldn't have. I'm going to check it.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, it works. Come on, people. You've got this right now. Rob, I can tell you, even though you're on a bus, if you join in via Hangouts on your phone, which you can do on iOS or Android, I'll see you, I'll hear you, and hell, you'll even see me and keep a thing of the tally. It's absolutely fantastic. All you got to do is click on that link in the descriptions down below to the side. I'm not sure, one of the directions, and you'll be able to see this whole stream and join in. Come on, you've got a headset. We'll deal with the lighting. That's fine. Just checking through everything to make sure it's all happening. It is. Can't see anyone on the phones just yet. Oh, people are saying they can't get through on the phone line. Let's have a quick look at that. Who knows? I've probably done something wrong. It's one of those things that happens. Lies, Darcy! Lies! If you've never called the reactions line, you don't get through straight away. There's a little bit of a delay when they tell you. You'll hear. And watch this. I bet you it works. Oh, is this me live? Oh, it's me live. Isn't that wonderful? Come on, it's a lie, Das. Call through on that number right now. 02-8002-1759. I'm happy to wait a couple of minutes. You know what? I know everyone here really just wants to hear the hold music. If you've heard our pre-show music, sadly, not one of my own pieces for a change. That's actually part of the YouTube's royalty-free library, which is absolutely stellar. And big props to that person with that track. Actually, I don't even have to credit it, but I think it's worth crediting because it's a damn funky track. But that's nothing to do with tonight's topic of city versus suburb versus country versus outback. I'm sure there are many folk out there who have many things to say about that tonight. You'd think that I'd be way more prepared than this, but sadly not. Hey, I committed to doing this every week. I've got to do it. It's part of my commitment to all of this stuff. Definitely have called the right number. It's 02-8002-1759. You know what? For those of you who haven't called through and you're wondering about what it sounds like, let me show you. Because we can.
Welcome to Reaction Line. It's that time again where we're getting your feedback on city versus...
Oh, hello.
It's me. I'm just calling through to check out the phone lines. They do work. But I'm just going to put my 2 cents in about living in the city/suburbs.
Yep.
My main reason for voting that way is because that's where I happen to grow up. So it's not that I have anything against any of the other areas. It's just that I wouldn't move away because I like where I'm at and I've built a life in the city and suburbs. So it's not so much not enjoying the other places. I like visiting those other places, but in terms of all the things that are here for me, I wouldn't want to miss out on those things.
So for you, and this is what I've got the upper hand with this conversation because we've had this conversation so many times. But for you, it's really about being around family, and if you were to move away from that, so you wouldn't consider moving to another city because you like the city and suburb lifestyle. You wouldn't, for instance, move to Melbourne or Fitzroy or around that area.
Probably not. If I had to move, if I had a choice though between Melbourne or like a country or regional place, I'd probably choose Melbourne.
There you go. But how would you deal with that with family?
It's a lot easier to get from city to city than it is to get from sort of a regional area, I guess.
Yeah, fair call. I've just had a couple of comments come up as well, saying Chrissy Parker grew up in the suburbs of Sydney and in the country of Lismore, but I'll always be a city girl at heart. So there you go. For me, it may be the other way around. I grew up around Lismore, then moved to the city, and that's that's why I'm probably more used to the city. Cameron Jenkins has also come in and made a comment saying that no one can seem to get to the link of the Hangout. So I'm going to post that in the comments right now. So if those of you who want to join via that link, you can join via that link. It's very easy. Literally just click on the thing. As long as you're in Google Chrome, it's super simple.
Weird.
Post that up the top.
All right. Well,
Thank you for
I'll let you
testing.
get back to it.
Appreciate it. I'll keep talking
Thanks.
and keep
Bye.
drinking water. Thanks, Fu. Yes, Mrs. Davis now. It's so weird to say that. Has joined and tested it out. Just she knows how this works. She wants to make sure it all works. In that stream right now, you can actually click on that pinned comment, which is a link to the Google Hangouts, and shock horror, you will come up in the stream. Dan Wiggins has jumped in and said, person prefers living in the city due to the constant hustle and bustle, but like escaping to the country as a break. Again, that's a very common thing for people who live in the city, to actually escape to the country, as it were. So I think, hang on a second, I haven't added some posts in. So Christy Parker, Suburbs, a city girl at heart. So we have to add one for city. Bam. We have to hit city again for Dan Wiggins. Your votes have been heard. We also have some wonderful people going through, liking some of the previous videos on the Reactions Line page. Don't forget, you can also become a Patreon, because all of this has been done with my own finance, and I don't really want to stop doing it. Your likes and viewing of the stream is what keeps me doing this. It's not about the money for me. It's more about hopefully providing a little bit of entertainment for those of you who are watching, and hopefully with usually interesting comments. Usually interesting topics to talk about. I would love to hear from you. You can actually send me an email, reactionsline@gmail.com, for your topic suggestions, as I'd like to keep on point. We opened it up a different way last week. Again, all of this stuff is trial and error to see what works the best, and I'm pretty sure I need to come up with a better topic for next year. But it's great to hear your feedback so far on this particular topic. As we look through some of the other comments that are coming through, someone's saying the phone line isn't working, but we've just tested that, so we know that it is. I mean, it's an interesting commentary on what we've had so far on Reactions Line over the last 5 weeks of doing this. I found it absolutely fascinating to see just how on point we were with Pineapple on Pizza, how on point we were with the Mac versus PC. Literally, as you know, 15 minutes after the Mac versus PC episode was aired, the general conclusion was that Apple seemed to have forgotten about their Pro market, because it's such a small segment of their market share compared to what is the iPhone and iPad. Huge sector for Apple. Yet 15 minutes after that, they obviously had a conversation with all of the key press people who say, no, we are working on something. It's an expandable Mac, God forbid. More like a cheese grater Mac, perhaps, as opposed to the trash Mac, as it were. But there you go. Look, I'm absolutely loving this. And as you may notice, week to week, we are trying different things. We are, the image should be getting better. The sound should be better. Everything about this is refinement to make sure that the show is as pleasing to watch and pleasing to listen to as it is to make and host. So again, thank you for your support about that. Waiting for, Els also commented again, living in the suburbs is expensive. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But then again, not as expensive as living in the heart of the city. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd love to hear your feedback. Only 17 minutes to go. Call now on that number, 02-8002-1759. Pasco, shout out again. Thank you, sir. Aha! Hold on. Let me push the button. I see what looks to be a Rob Hardy. Is that a Rob Hardy right there?
That is Rob Hardy.
It's a Rob Hardy! Oh, my arms got cut off. So, welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Tell me something. City, where are you?
I'm about to get on the bus, actually. So we're in the city. We're at Wynyard Station.
Okay.
So
So
getting on the bus from the city to the suburbs.
hang on a second. So you live in the suburbs,
Live in the suburbs, work in the city.
work in the city.
Mm.
Seems to be the way. Would you trade? It seems to be the way. Would you trade it for anything else? Would you do? Would you work in the suburbs?
If there was a nightclub in DY, sure.
Oh, DY's not the suburbs. DY's is the beaches.
Oh, the beaches in the suburbs,
One and the same. So,
one and the same.
okay, so you've obviously lived in the suburbs. You've lived in the city. Have you ever
Yeah.
lived in the country or the outback?
No and no, but I've got a brother that lives in Darwin, which is almost the country.
Yeah.
So I've spent a bit of time up there.
So, what do you find different? So, you grew up in the suburbs, grew up in the city. Every time you visit, say, the country, how does that
Yeah.
work for you? What do you find that's the key difference?
Oh, it's just relaxing.
It's relaxing.
Pace is slower. Everyone's nicer.
Yeah.
Place smells better.
This is absolutely hilarious that we're live streaming on all these platforms. You've joined in from your phone, which is absolutely hilarious.
On the bus.
And on the bus.
And on the bus.
That's
using
awesome.
a Mason's 4G network.
Well, see, now this is what's also interesting is we were hoping to see a bit of a change in the infrastructure to allow this to happen from the country a bit more, with the NBN.
Yeah, exactly.
Not having to travel as much. Obviously, it's very nice to be in the in the city for that. But to be in the country and have all these facilities would also be awesome.
That would be. And I'm not sure the fixed wireless solution will really work effectively out there.
Maybe that's next week's conversation, the state of the NBN.
Ah, yes.
I'm going to write that one down.
The state of the NBN. I'm going to let Darcy call in,
Thank you, sir.
and I'm going to keep watching. So,
All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. See, it's that easy. All you got to do is click on that link and you can join in the conversation. You can also call that number, 02-8002-1759. But it's way more fun to have you join in via video. And you may notice I haven't actually added this way now. I haven't actually added his conversation points there, city, suburb, country, outback tally, mainly because he's already been in and voted. James Henderson, haha, no. I'm only going to take one vote from each person, Dan. We can't do it the other way. Country for the win, says Hendo. So hang on, country, click. Matching it now with city. Oh, geez, my numbers are just not in the right place, are they? Oh, well, they'll do.
Hi there, Adrian.
Hello.
Guess who it is?
That would be Hendo?
Yeah, I really don't want to make you guess. It's Thomas. How are you?
Do you know what, Thomas? You have been on almost every show, and you have something very interesting to say every single show.
I decided not to join in via camera because I did just get home, and I've taken my pants off.
Hey, let's just
put
say
them
there's
on
a
my
reason
head.
I'm not standing up.
That's not actually an excuse because it could just be pointed at my face.
I'm not going to stand up, Thomas. We'll be safe.
Talking about the country, I've missed everything. I've been at an open mic comedy thing.
I need to change the
I
time.
knew I was running late, but I popped in. I've lived in the country. I'm from Bega.
Okay, so that's one for country, another one for the country. Click.
What I wanted to clarify is, is it do you prefer or is it where are you from?
It's just, I guess, talking about all the different things that are surrounding all those different areas. And I kind of talked about this at the start of the show, the cost of living, your facilities that you have available to you, opportunities you have available, lifestyle, family. What's the thing that resonates the most with you?
Well, I moved from Lismore. I know we've got some Lismore viewers there and people who've been in Lismore. We're both of them, or both one of them. We're two of them. And
indeed.
We both ended up in Sydney, didn't we?
We did.
Why did we do that? I came here for more work opportunities, basically.
I was exactly the same.
And I moved right into the middle of the CBD, and that's actually where I am at the moment. I'm in an apartment in the CBD.
Right.
My parents bought this and then retired, so it's empty, but I don't live here. I got out of here as quickly as I could because I can't stand being surrounded by concrete. I got out into the suburbs. I'm out in the inner west these days.
Yep.
because I just need a little bit of dirt.
Yeah,
That's what
and I seem to have the same thing. You know, as you said, you know, Bega and Lismore very close to your heart and where you grew up, and much the same. You know, I moved to Sydney originally. I started off very west, down in Ingleburn, moved in closer to the west in Marryong near Blacktown, and then ended up in Pyrmont for quite some time actually, and only recently have moved back out west. Because it's the only place in Sydney you can possibly think about buying, which is scary in its own right.
Yep.
And at the same point, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I've gradually moved my way out. So I moved from the CBD out to Ultimo, which is basically just, you know, next to the CBD. It's the same thing. And then over to Newtown, you know, a few more trees there.
Yep.
A little bit more earthy, and then moved a little bit closer into the city again, McDonald Town, pretty much right next to Newtown, and then out into the inner west. I won't say where. It's a pretty big, broad area, but I can see myself moving further out.
Yep.
It just depends on the trains and their availability.
Yeah, well, there is
Bankstown line is shocking. That's the one that I'm on.
Yep, there is a huge upgrade, as you know, going on throughout towards the Bankstown area from the CBD. I think it's called Sydney Metro. Oh, hang on. We've got someone else joining in. Uh-oh, look out. Here he goes. And so that is the upgrade path there, you know, to see that infrastructure built. And I mean, this is something I really want to talk a much greater detail soon. And this is something, Thomas, you'll have something, I'm sure, a very distinct opinion on the National Broadband Network, which promised to allow us to be able to move out and still communicate with the same pace that you could when you're closer to the city.
I can talk at length about that, but I won't because you want to do that later on.
That's a definite show I want to do. I'm very passionate about. I will just end on the fact that, and I probably say this every episode as well, the only reason this show happens is because of the NBN. The only reason that all happened is because my lovely wife decided to say, hey, what do you want in a house? My first response, NBN.
Let's put a cable in there and we'll be right.
She found it, which is fantastic. Darcy, you may have something to say.
Yes. So as I'm sure you know, I grew up in the country town of Coffs Harbour, hence the bogan sort of hang out. Look, and career-wise, I think that was a very good opportunity for me because basically what happened is Coffs Harbour is the size of the town that where the big touring bands come through, you know, like the Bliss and Esso and Carnival and, you know, bands of that sort of size. So we'd sort of pick up the tours around the following suburbs, and that allowed me to build quite a decent base of artists I've worked with to then be able to move into the city and just have a decent career from the get-go in the city.
Yeah.
So that's always been quite helpful because you've started, you know, I started doing this when I was about, 13, 14 years old. So pretty much 11 years ago now. And my very first lighting operate gig was for Sarah Blasco and Lismore in Coffs Harbour, which is, and Sarah, even back then, Sarah wasn't a small artist. She was quite well known. The fact that, a 14 or 15, I think it was then, year-old guy operated lighting for this known artist. It's quite a good opportunity. So that's where I think that sort of country town, sort of the benefits come, from there.
Yeah, so sorry, I kind of tuned out a little bit, mainly because I noticed your video was flipped around the wrong way, and I had to fix that because that would have been terrible. But I think, and this is something Thomas was just talking to as well, is, growing up in the country and then moving to the city for more work opportunities. And that's, I think, from that transition.
It's the unfortunate thing that as much as I'd love to keep living in Coffs Harbour, the opportunities do just sort of stop there for a bit. And so to go to the next part of my career, I needed to move to the city. But I reckon if I didn't have that background I did in Coffs, I don't reckon I would be where I am today, which is in my office here in Chatswood.
It's good. Now. It's good to get a virtual tour of the office as well, and I can see you're sprouting the wonderful Grandma 2 shirt, or Grand MA, if you prefer that kind of conversation. There's a whole sub-conversation going on in the comments here. We could see Darcy's new office. Rob Hardy's said that. All have pros. Sammy Lemon has come in saying that she's lived in both. Actually, she's lived in all three, so city, suburb, and country.
Let me see if I can get my cousin online, because she she lives in Adelaide now, but she used to live in Alice Springs, which I think
that'd be interesting.
That could count as country, I think, or Outback.
Outback. That would be Outback.
I think that would be Outback.
There's a whole heap of stuff going on.
What does Adelaide count as?
Darcy?
That would, I reckon Adelaide would technically be a city, although it'd probably be a country
technically.
City.
Okay, we won't make fun of Adelaide.
Okay,
let's not make Adelaide's awesome. I love Adelaide.
Thank you, gentlemen. You've just confirmed something. You can actually hear each other. I forgot to test that. That would have been very embarrassing. But there, as I said, the whole suburb.
No, I'm just psychic. I just guessed that I can't hear anything. I can only hear you.
Oh, sure. I'm sure. I did actually test it, but I haven't checked levels. Sorry, Sammy Lemon has said lived in all three. She's also gone on to say all have pros and all have cons, depending on what you're looking for. Emma Johnson, thank you for tuning in from Mackay, by the way. Hopefully everything's okay up there and there's not too much devastation from the recent cyclone, hurricane thing. What would Mackay be up in the top end? Is that country?
That's a good question, actually.
Those touristy sort of places. When I say touristy, I mean there's when you're like close to the coast and it's really nice and beautiful and leafy, but there can still be a lot of people there, like those little cities. You know, Lismore's a little city.
Yep. Would you
it's not quite on the coast.
I think Mackay would be a city, and I'm just sort of doing some googling on it now.
I consider it a city as well. It's the city of Mackay.
I think it's classed as a city. I mean, it's got 85,000 people in it.
But 85,000 people is a suburb in Sydney.
Yes, but
just
I'd call it a regional city.
Regional city, yep. I should have probably put regional in there.
So you should have done city versus country versus Outback versus suburbs versus regional city.
Please, the title is long enough as it is. I had to cut off a whole heap of stuff to fit it on the lower third. Oh, man.
That was like... You also spelled country wrong.
Rookie... Well, that's irritating. It took how long of streaming? It took what? 38 minutes of streaming?
No. Okay, to be fair, if you look at my comments, probably back when we first started, country asterisk, that was me correcting your typo.
These things do happen. Hey, James Henderson I thought that's who it was. I tell you what, Thomas, you sound a lot like James now, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, dear.
Oh dear. He's like, oh man, everyone keeps talking. It's easier to be a bigger fish in a small pond. And I think that's
I can agree with that very easily, but also it messes with your thing
Feng
that I'm trying to think of. No, it's your ego, I find. Yep. I think, like, if you're a big fish in a small pond,
yep,
especially at a young age, you sort of develop an ego thinking, I'm really good at what I do. Yep. That might be the case, but when you move to the city where you're a small fish in a big pond, that ego can sort of get in the way.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about that on last week's stream where we were talking with Ali Manifold, who is now in the UK. Her progression as an opera singer has really springboarded, to steal Hendo's words, mainly because of the competition and that fierceness that's brought out. So she's gone from being, thinking she's a relatively large fish in a small pond, has gone to the UK and discovered, oh my, I have to start from further down on the ladder than I ever expected. And I think that's a really humbling experience to go through that.
It really is. And it's actually professionally, it's a very good step to have that sort of kick up the arse going, okay, you're not as good as what your ego is, so you can keep that in check.
Yeah.
And having that, I've had that experience in my career, and I've been able to now sort of keep that in check now, I think.
And
I like to think I try, we try to.
So Thomas, you were saying you moved here for opportunity. Was that when you went into game development, or is that when you went into finance?
I went straight into music journalism while looking for work. So I had a great bit of fun working for Jim Beam's live music label. They gave me a free case of Jim Beam and Coke
That's
for
a
every
shame.
review I did, which is great.
What a shame.
Because I don't drink Coke and I don't drink Jim Beam, so I made a lot of friends really quickly.
Yep.
And I basically just had a great ball of fun getting around to lots of different places and sort of worked my way into a retail industry. Something I wouldn't have been able to do. I guess in the area where like all the head office and everything for it is centralised in Sydney, worked my way up to managing retail stores, dove out of that into video game development, worked my way up in that, contacts everywhere, all the schools in the area, I guess teaching interactive design and things like that, which I didn't participate in. I'm one of those horrible self-taught people who just managed to get my nose in all the right places while all these poor people studying struggling to get into them. It's like, I live in the city, like I should be fine, right? Who's just come from the country.
Yeah, exactly.
And and then dove out of that again.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting. I've seen this resilience from, and I mean, the three people who are talking now, Darcy and Thomas and myself, obviously at this point, we've seen quite, we've come from that country, moved through to the city, and have seen that shift in skill set. I guess you change what your ego is, and you change what your industry. I mean, look, Thomas, you and I have done very similar things, changed industry multiple times. Darcy, you're one of the few people who I've seen who have gone through that transition and have gone, no, I'm definitely, it's laser focused you into being what you want to do. Which is interesting. 10 seconds before the time is going to go off, so just watch your ears for a second because that will be very, very loud.
I was going to make a endo joke talking about a big fish. He's a really big bloke, isn't he?
He really is a big bloke.
Everyone's a small fish compared to him.
So it's interesting. It's a tie between city and the country for the people who have been voting. Just to touch on a couple of things that have been said in the comments, because that has to be talked about. Emma Johnson, thank you again for tuning in. Mackay has suburbs, so she's not sure. Emerald is definitely country, but Mackay is definitely city. So, I mean, there's kind of city centres, I think you would say. They're just bigger or smaller. Dan Pascoe has again jumped in and said, city is the land of opportunity. Country is, in his profession, doesn't matter. Hang on. I should read this before I actually read it. Okay, so city is the land of opportunity. Country, in his profession, doesn't matter. But in the end, it's the quality of life that wins over any job. The city, for him in particular, is very stress busy. Slow it down, chill, lay back country style. And again, maybe that's the different personalities, and that it depends on where you flourish. If you flourish in the city, if you flourish in the country. Again, conversely, suburbs or the outback. Regional centre is another common term. Thanks, Hendo. Another big fish, as we were saying. Spell it how it said. City versus burbs versus country versus the back paddock. That's Cam Jenkins from work. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing to hear where people have come from, and I don't know too many people who have gone from the city to the country. I mean, I do know some people, they've gone for family reasons because their family's from there, and they wanted to raise their family in a more chilled lifestyle. We say goodbye to Dan. He's just dropped off.
I know one person. Oh, actually, no. Cancel that. Actually, yeah, no, maybe. My old boss from Coffs Harbour.
Yep.
He grew, I think, from memory, he grew up in Mudgee.
Yep.
And I think he lived in Sydney for a while.
Okay.
And then moved up to Coffs Harbour.
There you go.
And he's still in Coffs Harbour today.
Again, I think it comes down to where you end up lifestyle-wise and what works for you. And, you know, through your...
You could certainly harken back to the smashed avocado topic. I think the feed on SBS here did a lunch with Barnaby Joyce over some smashed avocado in Tamworth, talking about people moving from the city out there to where the housing is affordable.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting discussion about that, which we've already moved on from.
Oh, we're not moved on from. We can always hail back to it.
Prices. Yeah, we can.
I think it's particularly interesting from that side of things as well. And, you know, this ties in with where my heart is with the NBN and what the NBN to me represented. It represented this concept of a bio city where you don't have to live in the heart of it. You don't have to live in the Sydneys, the Melbournes, the Brisbanes, the Perths. Perth. The Adelaides and the Hobarts. The cities. Let's just go the cities. You don't have to live in the cities in order to take advantage of, you know, high-speed internet, to have the e-commerce happening. And so the concept, from my understanding, was the NBN was supposed to bring about the idea of you being able to live and trade in a smaller bio city, as it were, a Tamworth, for example, where you could still trade with the major cities. We have the mail and post infrastructure to be able to afford that. And with e-commerce particularly, we've seen that huge ramp up in parcel delivery versus letters, and it's another conversation. And yet here we are, with a crippled NBN, and this will definitely lead into next week's topic, a crippled NBN that's not really allowing that. And it's really terrible to see that we don't do that. I mean, my parents are in Tamworth, and they have just been told they're about to get the NBN. I don't know if they're actually getting real NBN or if they're getting this fiber to the node business. And I'm interested to see what kind of speeds they get. I mean, yeah, that's next week's topic. But the whole idea was that we're supposed to blur the lines between what is a city and what is the country.
I just want to point out there's a mini you on the screen currently. If you look where I am.
Yes, there is. Right. There he is. Yeah, I am very well aware of that. I couldn't find, there's no keyboard shortcuts in Hangouts to turn that off. With the other solution I was using last week's, I was able to turn that off. But yes, there is a mini me in there.
And on that note, I will go back to just listening.
Thank you, Darcy.
All right. See you.
Ciao.
How do I turn this off?
You push hang up.
Hey, where's the hang up button? There it is. Bye.
Oh, dear. So, hey, Thomas, are you free? Would you like to guest next week when we talk about the NBN?
I guess I could.
I would love you to do that.
Yes, I can do that. I can either go do more comedy or I can do that. I just did that. So I can do this.
Ooh. But comedy, though.
Oh, yeah. It's on every week, Okay. You're only on like once a
week.
Yep. Yeah, we got it.
I'll
spare a week for you.
And you can do this from home as well, as we've just demonstrated there in the last couple of weeks. So I'd love to kind of have some preamble about that when you're free.
Wonderful, mate. Well, catch me up.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time.
Yep, I'll jump off.
Thank you, sir. Chat to you soon.
See you, mate.
So I think that's about it. We'll close the phone lines by pushing the special button over here. A bit of a loose... Oi. Thank you, phone system. A bit of a loose one this week, as we can see from the tallies. City, country has tied. Suburbs, a lot lower than what I expected. And the Outback, only one vote there. Mainly because we probably don't have the NBN out there. As per usual, let me see if I can flip my face around. It's interesting conversation of where people live and where they've come from. It seems to be that people really resonate from where they grew up. So if they grew up in the city, they want to come back to the city. If they grew up in the country, they want to come back to the country. And I mean, this really does tie into the affordability of housing that we talked about a few weeks ago, is that it really is difficult to get into the market these days. Actually, I'm just going to turn this off. It is really difficult to get into the market these days, and in the city particularly, when you see the cost of living plus the cost of housing. And we did talk about that in that show previously. Go and have a look at that one if you want to understand that a bit more. Thomas had some wonderful things to say about the economics, and Kevin Cox also joined to talk about the economics of that whole thing. From our side, though, it's very interesting. Oi, whole heap of stuff's coming up there. Here we go. Fun fact. Hillbilly Bob started business in Sydney and ended up in Perch Creek starting a family jug band. The band, who has now moved to Melbourne, round and round we go. Snakes and ladders everywhere. What I was trying to say before I allowed myself to completely get distracted is that we are seeing that people are moving away from those city centres primarily because of the financial cost of actually just buying into the city or renting in the city. That's only one part. The lifestyle seems to be very much the other side of things. And it's very interesting to see some of the private conversations I've had around where you want to raise your family in the city, suburbs, country, or the Outback. With the piece on why we probably didn't hear many people from the Outback or from the country for that regard. The country seems to be pretty well connected with the internet, and this is a live show that happens, for 1 hour, once a week. It's a real shame to see that we didn't get that NBN infrastructure through. I mean, look, 4G is a wonderful thing. It's very expensive. And, the cost of living in the Outback is a hell of a lot lower than what it is here in the suburbs, here in the city. At the same point, the price of internet is pretty much the same everywhere. So maybe that's a luxury tax. I'm not sure how we'd see that, and if that's a luxury item for you to have in the Outback. I think it must be a necessity to have that, to have some kind of awareness of what's going on in the social spheres. Another topic for another week is definitely going to be social media, and I'll leave that one up to that. Might be another Thomas guest on that one. Anyway, I think that's about it for me rambling into a microphone for about mostly an hour on my own. It has been wonderful to have you on the show tonight, for joining us. Thank you again for supporting us here at Reactions Line. There's so many things I'd love to continue talking about, but obviously my hour is up and I'm pretty damn tired. As I've said before, if you'd like to support this show, if you like what I'm doing, thank you for watching. Continue to watch. That would be wonderful. But don't forget, you can actually support me on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch as well, which is an interesting place for us to stream. But we do stream there just because, why not? But if you do have $1 a month spare, or you want to donate to help me, keep the lights on, as it were, please do over at patreon.com/reactionsline. If you've ever been to Patreon or see what they do, it's about supporting independent creators. Again, I don't need it. It's just a nice to have, not a must have. And I'll continue doing this anyway until people don't watch, which is pretty much what my plan is. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Bit of a shambles, but good fun. Next week, don't forget to tune in, and we'll have some more of that sweet, sweet goodness of Reactions Line where you can call in and talk about it. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the NBN, the National Broadband Network. Hopefully a little more controversial. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. See you next week. Ciao.